everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Low Carb series, where we will learn about how to adopt a low carbohydrate lifestyle. My name is Rina Hisamatsu, and I'm a registered dietitian with the Michigan Collaborative for Type 2 Diabetes. So in today's video, we're going to talk about meal planning strategies and suggestions on how to prepare for the week ahead. One of my favorite tips to share with folks who are just starting out on a low carb journey is to think about the layout of their day. What does a typical day look like for you? How many meals and snacks do you usually have? What are your go-to meals? Is there a time of day that's particularly challenging to stick to healthier eating habits? Once you have a sense of what your overall day looks like, we can then determine the where and what of our action plan. Remember that concept of changing one meal at a time that I shared in video 1? Starting with something easy, one change at a time, can help you gradually adapt to a new meal plan. As an example, let's start with the first meal of the day. With all meals, we can use the 4-step process to build a balanced plate. These steps are made up of a choice of protein, non-starchy vegetables, and maybe a complex carb or fats, depending on your carbohydrate goal. It can be helpful to use these 4 steps to write a shopping list. How about we walk through it together with some examples of low-carb staples? We'll use this template here to guide us through those different sections of writing a list. So let's start with produce, which includes vegetables and fruits. Examples of low-carb vegetables include things like leafy greens, peppers, onions, zucchini, cabbage, broccoli, and green beans, to name a few. Fruits might include things like berries, apples, pears, kiwis, plums, and avocado, which is considered a fruit. Protein can include examples such as meat, poultry, fish, seafood, dairy, tofu, and eggs. A freezer list as well can be very helpful to identify some convenience foods or convenience items, such as frozen fruits and vegetables, cauliflower pizza crusts, or frozen protein sources like fish or chicken. Canned or pantry items can be very helpful too. Examples include canned tuna or chicken, sauces, grains such as oats or quinoa, and dried beans are just a few things to help keep in stock for low-carb staples. Lastly, miscellaneous or fridge items like dairy products, condiments, pickles, olives, or your favorite cucumber pickles, nuts and seeds can also be added to your list too. Now let's go back to that first meal of the day. Now that we have an idea of some low-carb staples, let's plan around breakfast. When you think of breakfast, you might consider protein sources like eggs, plain Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or your favorite breakfast meat. Let me share a few examples of breakfast pairings with the same base. So, let's say cottage cheese, for example. If you like cottage cheese, you could try serving it with berries or maybe some nuts and seeds. For a savory twist, try pairing your cottage cheese with some diced avocado, some tomato, and maybe a dash of seasoning. Eggs are often considered a breakfast staple, and if you're a fan, you'll know there are many ways to prepare them. Omelets and scrambled eggs can be made with your choice of diced vegetables and cheese for a filling breakfast. Egg casserole or boiled eggs can be a great make-ahead option for those busy mornings. Even simpler, you also have the option to grab a low-carb protein shake to take on the go. These options can help you get through even the busiest of days feeling nourished and energized. You might decide your meal is complete then and there. You've got your protein and non-starchy vegetables, which is great. If you'd like to take it a step further, you could serve your meal with a side of fresh fruits for a complex carb, Or top, let's say, your Greek yogurt bowl with a sprinkling of nuts for an added fat. So some examples of add-ons for complex carbs or fats include fresh fruit or frozen fruit, oatmeal, sliced avocado, nuts and seeds. Now, what about snacks, you say? Snacks aren't a necessary part of the day, but some people find it useful because it helps to manage their hunger levels and helps to stick to their meal plan. My favorite low-carb snacks include things like nut and seed trail mixes, vegetables with dip, like guacamole, hummus, or yogurt dip, turkey and cream cheese roll-ups, maybe some fruit with nuts or nut butter, or some cheese, to name a few. Let's recap. So a low carbohydrate lifestyle means to reduce your overall intake of carbohydrate-containing foods and beverages. There are many great alternatives to high-carb foods like rice and pasta, and I want to share some ideas with you so that you can recreate your favorite dishes at home. Now, let's talk about substitutions for rice. A popular substitute for rice is riced cauliflower. You can use your food processor to rice the cauliflower yourself or buy it pre-made from the store. Quinoa is another great example. It's a type of whole grain that is slightly lower in carbs but higher in protein compared to rice. There are several alternatives for pasta or noodles, including spaghetti squash, parts of palm noodles, and shirataki noodles. Some people really enjoy spiralizing zucchini. Just be sure as a tip not to overcook them. Generally, a minute or two is usually the sweet spot. Substitutes for bread can include dark leafy greens or lettuce that you can use to wrap your sandwich fillings. My favorite greens include Swiss chard or cabbage leaves for their neutral flavor. These days, you can also find a variety of low-carb wraps made from eggs or nut and cauliflower blends. Make sure to review the nutrition label for the carbohydrate content of all packaged foods. So I often get asked about substitutions for potatoes. The best that I've tried is kohlrabi or turnips, especially if you're making a crispy hash flavored with onions and garlic or roasting it in the oven with different spices. Cauliflower is another great ingredient to use if you want to make a creamy mashed potato. And it's even more delicious if you mix it in with some fresh herbs and garlic. So our cost of living continues to rise, and that can pose an additional challenge to meeting your health goals. Shopping on a budget through meal planning can be a really helpful way to navigate these challenges while staying on track with your low carbohydrate meal plan. So the first step is to plan ahead. Meal planning may not be for everyone, but forming a rough idea for the week means that you can budget without overspending. And in return, that produces less food waste. Meal planning does not have to mean extravagant meals every night. Let's keep it simple. Try to cook in larger batches when you can and enjoy those leftovers throughout the week. Spending those 10 to 15 minutes to write out a grocery list each week can be helpful for planning ahead, and it can go a long way to help you stay on track with your low-carb lifestyle. So I want to share with you these 5 additional tips to help you budget and eat well. Tip number 1, if you enjoy eggs, consider them a low-carb staple. Eggs are packed with nutrients and are often available for a lower cost than other protein sources like meat. Tip number 2, use frozen vegetables and fruits. They're a great way to add fiber and nutrients to your day and are often cheaper than their fresh counterparts. An added bonus is that they store well in the freezer so that you can worry less about food waste. Tip number 3, check for local sales and deals. This can help you to plan out your meals. For example, if chicken thighs and whitefish are on sale this week, you could try to plan your meals using those ingredients. Batch cooking will leave you with some leftovers to be enjoyed another day. Tip number 4, drink water as your main beverage. This might come as a no-brainer, but water is the best drink to help you stay hydrated, and it's free. If you're learning to enjoy plain water, you can consider flavoring it with sliced fruit or fresh herbs like mint and other flavorings. You might also consider adding drops of flavorings like Mio or Crystal Light, which is relatively cheap and can last for a long time. Tip number 5, build your spice and herb rack. Spices and herbs can elevate an average meal to something extraordinary without much effort. You might get tired of eating, chicken every week with your usual fixings. However, if you jazzed it up with a blend of different spices, like garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and lemon juice, it really helps to elevate the flavor and enjoyment of that meal. Spicing your food is a great way to tickle your taste buds and can be helpful for you to stay on track with your meal plan. All right, folks, that's all I have for you this week. Thank you for watching this video, and we hope you learned some useful information about meal planning and grocery shopping on a low carbohydrate lifestyle. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.